coming to you live from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Great Estate, Nungwa Adugono. And the news is also live across all our social media handles on MBN 360. My name is El Samuels. To start with, the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dominic Ayine, has filed an urgent application on the Court of Appeal seeking a stay of execution of the judgment that acquitted and discharged the former Chief Executive Officer of the Micro and Small Loan Center, Maslok Sedinam Temaklo, pending an appeal at the Supreme Court.
The application was filed on Thursday, July 30, just hours after the Court of Appeal unanimously overturned Atinu's conviction and 10-year prison sentence, acquitting and discharging her of all charges. The Attorney General is asking the Court of Appeal's Criminal Division in Accra to suspend the effect of its judgment until the Supreme Court determines the state's appeal. The motion, filed by Principal State Attorney Hilda W. Craig, on behalf of the Attorney General, is supported by an affidavit sworn by Assistant State Attorney Andrew Owusu Ajiman. According to the affidavit, Ationu was first arraigned before the High Court in February 2019 on charges including stealing and causing financial loss to the state. During the trial, she left Ghana for the United States, prompting the court to continue proceedings in her absence. On April 16, 2024, the High Court convicted her in absentia and sentenced her to 10 years imprisonment with hard labor. The affidavit states that Ationu appealed the conviction in February 2026 while she was still outside Ghana's jurisdiction. Around the same period, the Attorney General's office initiated extradition proceedings, leading to her return from the United States in June 2026 after a federal district court in Nevada approved her extradition. She subsequently began serving her prison sentence. However, on July 30, 2026, a three-member panel of the Court of Appeal comprising Justices Emmanuel Ankama, Emmanuel Senyo Amadehi, and Samuel Obendiewu unanimously allowed her appeal, set aside the convictions, and ordered that she be acquitted and discharged. The appellate court held that the prosecution failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt and criticized the trial court, saying it had lost sight of the constitutional principle that every accused person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. The Attorney General has challenged that decision, arguing in the affidavit that the Court of Appeal's judgments resulted in a substantial miscarriage of justice because of what he describes as material errors of law and fact on the face of the record.
This morning, the Court of Appeal issued a decision unanimously acquitting and discharging Sedina Atienu Temaklo, who was convicted of various offenses in absentia because, she was standing trial, and in the course of the trial, she sought permission to travel abroad for medical reasons and then remain in the United States for the rest of the trial. The trial court convicted her of the offenses charged, and then an appeal was filed by her lawyers in May 2024. I want this to be made abundantly clear that it was my predecessor who filed the appeal. However, coming into office, I reviewed what was filed, and I directed the Director of Public Prosecutions to file opposing the appeal, because we believe that the High Court judgment had merit. Now, with this judgment, I have also directed the Director of Public Prosecutions to file a notice of appeal and apply for stay of execution, meaning that if the stay is granted, the status quo will prevail until such a time that the Supreme Court has had time to review the appeal and then made a determination.
The Executive Director of the African Institute of Strategic Studies, Dr. Jonathan Asante Ottery, has criticized government decision to accept a recommendation by the Constitutional Review Committee, CRC, to extend the tenure of Ghana's president and members of parliament from 4 years to 5 years.
According to him, the proposed extension does not address the fundamental challenges confronting governance in Ghana and could instead create difficulties for citizens if elected leaders fail to perform. Speaking on CTI Witness News on Thursday, July 30th, Dr. Asante Ottery questioned the rationale behind increasing the duration of political office, arguing that the additional year would not significantly improve the delivery of government programs. He dismissed arguments that governments need more time to settle into office before they can effectively implement their policies, describing such explanations as inadequate. People talk about the fact that when somebody comes into power within a year and a half or two, he is now forming government, making appointments here and there. I believe that any party worth its salt should have had in mind those they want to appoint before they even win the election, he said. Dr. Asante Ottery argued that political parties must be adequately prepared before assuming office and should not rely on longer terms as a solution to administrative delays. He further questioned the assumption that extending the presidential term would automatically lead to better governance, warning that citizens could be trapped under ineffective leadership for longer periods. He said, maintaining shorter electoral cycles gives citizens a quicker opportunity to hold leaders accountable through elections if they are dissatisfied with their performance. He cautioned that prolonged periods under poor leadership could increase public frustration and create instability. We should have the opportunity to decide in a quick space if the government is bad. We should be able to keep them out. Extending the tenure for me is neither here nor there, he added. Dr. Asante Ottery also described the difference between a 4-year and 5-year presidential term as insignificant, arguing that the focus should rather be on improving the quality of leadership and governance systems. I see it more as theoretical than practical because there is no significant difference between 4 years and 5 years, he stated.
Now, away from there, we go to the Speaker of Parliament, Agba Sumana Kingsford Bagme, has assured the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Osman Nuhu Shaributu, that the human sexual rights and family values, popularly known as the anti-LGBTQ+ bill, will be reconsidered and passed before Parliament rises for recess on Friday, July 31st, 2026.
Mr. Bagman said the bill, in its current form, requires further review, particularly 3 key clauses related to sentencing provisions. According to him, the reconsideration is necessary to address concerns over the punishment regime outlined in the legislation before it is brought back before the House for final consideration. Speaking during a visit to the National Chief Imam, the Speaker said Parliament intends to complete the process before going on recess, adding that the matter should not be viewed through a political lens. Our intention is to do it before we go on recess. We are likely to do so even by tomorrow so that it assures you that the members elected to Parliament are doing what you have asked them to do, he said.
The pledge I gave to you concerning the bill will definitely come to reality. The bill was passed by Parliament. The way it was done, I wasn't happy. And you would have heard me come out to talk about it. This is a bill that should rather bring us more together. There should not be at the end some disagreements. It's a bill that is sponsored by all of us through your wisdom. But at the end of it, there was disagreement on the floor between majority and minority. This is not a bill for majority a minority. This is a bill for all of us. And so I wasn't happy. I've gone through it. And I'm not happy with the sentencing regime, the sanctions. Because I think it did not truly reflect what you conveyed to me as my fathers. That's why I called for it to be reintroduced at the end, so that we just tweak and refine those clauses. There are only 3 to make it better. I have told His Excellency the President he is in total agreement with me. And so the bill is now going through that stage again. Our intention is to finish it before we go on the recess at this meeting. We are likely to do so even by tomorrow. At the end of it all, so that you really trust your parliament, your members that you've elected to represent you, that they are doing what you want them to do. There's no politics in it at all. Anybody trying to take political advantage, just disregard that. Both Muslims and Christians agree. Even the non-believers, that this one, if we don't pass it, then we are acting against the decree of God Himself.
Away from the Speaker of Parliament with engagement with the National Chief Imam, we move straight to the business desk, where motorist transport operators and businesses should prepare for another increase in fuel costs from August 1st, as industry projections point to higher petroleum, diesel and LPG prices in the first pricing window of the month.
The Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC, projects petrol prices could increase by about 7.58%, while diesel is expected to record the steepest increase of about 12.50%. LPG prices are also projected to rise by about 4.13%. If the projections materialize, consumers will pay more at the pumps, adding to transportation and production costs for businesses. The increases could also reignite pressure for transport fare adjustments and contribute to higher operating costs across several sectors of the economy. COMAC attributes the expected increases to the escalating conflict between the United States and Iran, which has pushed up international crude oil and refined petroleum product prices amid concerns over supply disruptions, higher freight costs, and security risks along the Strait of Hormuz. Average crude oil prices rose by 23.25% in late July, increasing from $71.90 per barrel to $88.62 per barrel. Refined petroleum products also recorded significant gains, with diesel increasing by 24.84%, petrol by 12.58% and LPG 12.24%. The projected increases are also being supported by a slight depreciation of the Ghana cedi. The local currency weakened by 1.41% against the US dollar during the pricing period, moving from 11 cedis 50 pesos to 11 cedis 66 pesos to the dollar, increasing the cost of importing petroleum products. The projections come after the National Petroleum Authority released higher price floors for the first pricing window of August. The petrol price floor has been set at 14 cedis 53 pesos per litre, representing a 9.41% increase from the previous pricing window. Diesel's price floor rose by 18.26% to 16.97 pesos per litre, while LPG increased by 8.54% to 11.06 pesos per kilogram. The price floor represents the minimum price at which oil marketing companies and LPG marketing companies are expected to retail petroleum products during the pricing window. Fuel prices have been on an upward trend in recent weeks, with diesel retailing at close to 18 cedis per litre at some filling stations, while petrol is approaching 16 cedis per litre at selected outlets. The latest projections are likely to revive concerns within the transport sector.
On an international front, the World Bank, the Bank of England, holds interest rates about 3.75%, but says it's ready to raise them if the US-Iran war escalates.
3 of the Monetary Policy Committee's 9 members voted in favor of raising rates to 4% negative, but 6 voted to hold. It is the 5th time the bank has kept the rates unchanged as it assesses the impact of the conflict in the Middle East. Andrew Bailey, governor of the Bank of England, warns high and volatile energy prices will cause inflation to rise again later this year. The interest rate influences rates set by other lenders, affecting products like consumer loans, mortgages, and savings accounts.
And that brings us to the end of this morning's bulletin, live and direct from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Great Estate. For more news, log on to MBN 360. Thanks for staying with us. My name is El Samuels. Up next is a sports update.